Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome. This is going to be great to see all of you with us today, as we have got fantastic sessions we line up here. So I'm Hussam Kneifati, I'm the Director of Digital Project Delivery at EllisDon. And I'm here together with my colleague, Hammad Haroon. He's the Senior VDC Coordinator for our VDC operations in EllisDon. So I'll kick things off by spending the first 10 minutes giving you an overview about how EllisDon we leverage our digital ecosystem for our construction projects. Then I will hand it over to Hammad, who's gonna talk maybe in depth, use case, how we leverage that in action. So let's get started. So, all right, so when we talk about digital ecosystem, a lot of folks might think it's about just a platform that links tools each other. At EllisDon, we effectively approach it by focusing on 4 key elements: our client, design, operations, and technologies. So think about this as a 4 intersecting circles. And where they meet, this is exactly how EllisDon, where our integration focus lies. So, for example, when we talk between design and operations, we emphasize the real-time data communication, and when between the client and design, it's about leveraging data. And between design and technology, so we talk about automation. And between operations and technology, we definitely ensure seamless of integration and automations. With a third layer that led us to a true digital ecosystem, we consider the budget, the security and privacy, the collaboration, and support. And this is how we really make sure that we are not just connecting tools to each other, but we truly supporting our business objective and making everyone work smoother and with more automated with the help of AI and real-time data. Imagine there 3 images appear one by one. The first one shows the vast array of tools and technology in the construction market. So the construction market is full with great tools, but if we use this individually, without a bigger vision, we don't get really a true digital ecosystem. In the second image, this is exactly the real step that drives us to effective digital ecosystem. So we focus on selecting the right tools that can integrate well. This is the effective step that we use or make sure that the tool values can extend beyond just one purpose by helping multiple parts of our workflow. So in other words, this is the real step that set the stage for our digital ecosystem. And finally, with the third step that is bringing everything together into a central common data environment where all tools connect and synchronize effectively. And this is our ultimate objective for digital ecosystem. In the next slide, I'll show some examples how EllisDon we connect tools and their values together. So I'll start with the first one. So we integrate 3D models, the scheduling data, and reality capture like 360 photos to achieve automated AI-driven progress tracking and cost control. That's allow us to see exactly how our project moving forward in real time. And the second one, we combine reality capture from drones and 3D mesh models to improve cut and fill analysis and go for further accuracy. So this integration gives us more precise measurement and clearer picture of the earthworks. The third one, we use the smart site cameras and AI analytics to automatically track exterior progress and overlay 3D models. This enhanced our planning, scheduling, and safety reviews. And another great example I have here is how we're leveraging central data environment with mobile viewer for a cloud-based issue logs and 3D verification on site. So this, of course, makes it easy to our teams to access and resolve issues on real time. I do have a few examples here. So the first one, we use BIM collaboration platform along with augmented reality to enhance the mobile device viewer on site. And this integration helps us manage and track field issues and make adjustment right on site and ensuring accuracy and efficiencies in the field. The second one, we integrate reality capture from drones and 3D coordination. This enhanced our logistic and site coordination, allowing us to validate surfaces and plan more accuracy before we start excavation. The third one, we link our BIM collaboration platform and construction intelligence tools. This gives us a dashboard for quantity takeoff and progress tracking, enabling real-time issue tracking and linking site reports. With this integration, we have real insights and better communication through integrated data platform. And lastly, we integrate 4D scheduling with the 3D coordination. This allows us to enhance risk and safety management by combining models, timelines, and drone footage in a seamless 4D simulation. So this gives us a very accurate view of site logistics and planning. So we have more examples, but we are short with the time. And with these examples in mind, I would like to hand it to Hammad Haroon so he can really talk about use case, how we leverage our visual data on site and in construction field. Over to you.
All right, testing. Can everyone hear me? Good. So, Hussam talked a little bit about how we're using this ecosystem to develop top-down processes that solve problems at project level. Well, while Hussam is looking at it from the top, I'm one of the guys looking at it from the bottom, along with our very talented project VDC coordinators out here. So I'm going to be showing a case study as to how we use this process to solve a very small slice of these problems, which deal with visual data in construction. It's a problem that we all deal with in our personal lives, whether it's the millions of photos we have in our iCloud or the millions of images and videos we have in our project folders. How do we deal with them? How do we leverage them properly? Now, the project I'm going to be discussing is the Berna, Myron and Berna Garron Health Sciences Complex at the University of Toronto, Scarborough. I'm going to be starting with the introduction of the visual data leveraging process, along with the two specific types of visual data that we are leveraging, and finally ending with how we integrate this in the rest of our ecosystem, which is just very well. Most effective tech that our business centers around deals with visuals. Construction is primarily validated with visual data. You don't really know how much of a building is done unless you go and see it. At every point of the building process, we're taking photos, we're taking videos, and now we need a way to, as we pile up with these terabytes of data, we need a way to minimize waste of data storage and leverage these properly to get enhanced insights. So we're privileged to have the ability to work with tools and platforms that can offer us opportunities to make our jobs safer, more intelligent, and mitigate risk. And we're going to be showing a perspective from a general contractor as to how we deploy these technologies on a project to get the most out of the visual data. So the first type of data that we're going to be talking about is aerial data. Aerial data is particularly interesting in the AEC process. When we look at a building for the first time, it's often done from the air. And that could be from a 3D model, and that could be from a physical model. As it starts as a design in the architect's office, we're always looking at it from the top. Now, when it comes to the construction, we're able to validate that and compare that to the initial design, again from the top. And that is made possible by the use of drones and automated RPAS workflows. Gathering aerial data is a very specialized workflow in and of itself. It needs processes on an organizational level that allow people to fly these drones, capture data properly, and then there are multiple outputs that can come out of it, and that can be integrated into the tech ecosystem or project, as opposed to simply getting images and videos, storing them in folders, and forgetting about them. There is the necessity of going beyond standard deliverables. So if you look at this image here, you can see that the biggest circles next to the aerial visuals deal with 2D images and videos. But we can leverage these further. We can, from videos, we can get time lapses, use them in marketing, site inspection orbits, use them in a progress tracking workflow. Images, we can overlay them on project drawings, get ortho mosaics of very large project files that wouldn't be possible with a single photo. We can get site inspections, again, we use diesel marketing, use markups. One thing that we're seeing most recently is the use of photogrammetry to create meshes. Now, this is also important for quantity takeoffs, earthworks analysis, and especially integrating a BIM model, which a lot of us are familiar with. We also have the ability to use this data across various silos of a project. So that means departments that wouldn't ordinarily communicate too much with each other. Logistics, safety, estimation, project coordination, supervision. Using this data in a way that bridges these silos allows the maximum use out of these. And so it doesn't gather dust. On a project level, weekly flights became a fixture of the Myron, Berna, Garron Health Sciences Complex project. Aerial photos were used in processes of all our project partners. We were getting requests from the client as well as our subcontractors. Plan Group was also here for the progress photos of the project. We were also able to gather a lot of nice data about the equipment on the roof in particular. And the site team benefited from the use of secondary platforms that leveraged this data and allowed advanced usage of the drones. These were particularly important in communication. So we weren't limited to any particular software. We were able to use this in existing software and existing workflows. So you can see here we have a Bluebeam markup, 360 panorama, and a progress reporting. All of these were generated and created from different software. A lot of the times, software wasn't even used to do anything with these. We would even have very old school people who would print out drone photos, write on them with a marker, scan them, and then email that out. And that was one of the funniest workflows that I've seen. I love that. And so we were able to provide these visuals to project stakeholders and partners to view remotely. One time I went on an extended vacation and we had requests from, hey, where are our drone photos? And so when I came back, we had to make sure that we were doing it regularly because the clients really got used to that, and that was very useful for them. And this really proves essential for optimization of time, safety, and trust. Progress validation is a very important output of this. So you can see here that we have certain markups. These can be generated in platforms or through Bluebeam markups. And at the bottom here is a composite of a sleeving drawing that was actually made from different points in time. For example, in here, we didn't pour this slab all at the same time. We poured it in 3 stages. But having drone images or ortho mosaics of all 3 of these allowed us to go into different software. And it was a simple process of simply compositing these together. Now, archiving this data and being able to use it months down the line when the sleeves are all covered up, when it's done, maybe even the building's done, that's essential for seeing and validating aspects. Risk management is another key part of this. Once the project team got used to it, overlaying project drawings on the site conditions became an essential part of our risk management process, particularly with exterior conditions. the project team was able to assess potential obstacles and find solutions ahead of time. And in this example, you can see that we discovered that an existing orbit was marked in the incorrect location, and so we were able to use a drone orthomosaic to figure out where the actual orbit was in relation to where it was in the drawings, provide that back to the consultants, and get revised drawings in time to conduct installation properly on site. Finally, this is the part that I found most exciting due to my background working with Revit and 3D models. Integrating the BIM model allowed our project team to leverage valuable data directly from the authors. Now, in this case, we were leveraging the consultants and trades models, plugging them into the mesh that came out of the drone platform, and then we were able to visualize where we would see potential problems down the line. Perhaps in the path of one of these duct banks, we had material on site that needed to be moved or relocated ahead of time. And another example here was we discovered insufficient earth cover simply by integrating these 3D models. And that would have been a very painful process when we actually got down to it and discovered we didn't have enough earth to put on top of the duct banks. So discovering this ahead of time proved very useful. One of these also site inspections. Now this was, to say the least, this was an exciting process in which we would get really up close to parts of the building where it was possible but very difficult and perhaps unsafe for a member of our personnel team to go up with a cherry picker or something. And as you can see here, we were able to look at certain deficiencies up close, communicate that to the respective parties, and get those issues resolved in a very fast manner rather than waiting for someone to go up in a cherry picker, which is again in itself and perhaps an unsafe process. And the top left picture here, that's the closest I've ever flown the drone to a part of the building, and that's maybe 2 feet away there because the wind blew it closer than I meant it to. I snapped the photo and I got out of it. So this wasn't restricted to one particular department. We were able to apply the solutions to safety, coordination, logistics, and quality inspection. So again, we're bridging these silos that don't normally talk to each other in construction. And so that concludes the aerial data portion of this, and I'm going to move on to the next part, which is the smart site cameras. Now, we partnered with a provider called Timescape, which also has a booth here. You can see one of these cameras on site at our project. So working with a forward-facing client such as U of D, they were very invested in monitoring and validating site progress. There was a need for visual site updates for various stakeholders, whether that is the consultants, the client, or the subcontractors. Being able to view this project from afar, on the weekends, from a cottage, wherever, the ability to pull up site visuals was very useful and something they got used to pretty quick. There was also value in visualizing growth on site and validating work done on site. And most importantly, the ability to harness, record, and enrich this data was something that was essential. Okay, so integrating this with other aspects of the cameras meant that we were able to use not just the standard deliverables that were provided to us, meaning the image viewer, the time lapse, the 3D viewer, and the AI analytics. We were able to integrate these with other departments and silos to create tertiary and secondary outputs that were essential to the data extraction. And adding that data to the project database really proved very useful to the project team. Maintaining a single vantage point, which is essentially what a smart site camera has to do, it's on a pole which doesn't move, is very important for accurate comparison and predictable viewpoints. One aspect of that I really found valuable was how we were able to store and organize this historical visual data. At a click of a button, we were able to go back at a certain point in time, see what's going on at that point, and also having this cloud-based record of data took a bit of a load off of our data storage servers. And being able to navigate that into a nice interface was something that our project team found very useful without having to learn other softwares and workflows. This also had a collaboration aspect. We were able to use these image viewers, mark them up on site in meetings, in remote meetings. For 4 persons meeting, this became a pretty weekly staple of the job. and especially for reporting of data for internal communications in IPRs to back to the corporate office, the project team found all these features very useful. And again, we were able to integrate a 3D model in this. Now, this was especially fun because a lot of the times people would come on site for a very small scope, for a very small aspect of the project, and obviously what they were seeing on site was very different from what is supposed to be built. And so when they walked in from the site to the trailer and we were able to show them this visual, that really related the final design, which they were going to be a part of, to the site as built, which they were seeing outside. And so this really helped in communication, facilitated the process, saved a lot of time, rather than showing them the renderings and saying, hey, that's something similar to what you're going to see. This extra layer of visualization really facilitated communication. Our client especially found this very valuable, being able to see how much of the job was done and how much remained. And here you can see a partial overlay of the steel structure in the middle of the steel installation progress. Now, finally coming to how this data works with each other and with the other aspects. Aerial data complements site camera data. They're both very different. Aerial data is taken at discrete points. We can't have a drone flying around 24/7. But a drone can fly around, so it's not fixed in one place. Well, a site camera is kind of the opposite of that. So they're not duplicates. There are no redundancies there. They complement each other and fill each other's gaps. And the different analytics and data that we can get out of these enrich our project knowledge base. Now, as to how we integrated this in a technological manner, we obviously worked with our tech partners who were very valuable in obviously providing us this technology, but also working with us to implement features that can optimize the utility. I believe we also provided them some valuable feedback, which allowed them to optimize their platforms further. In the end, they would provide us with a very nice interface and out-of-the-box user experience. And that you can see in this graph. While we have the user experience provided by these platforms, we can also use additional inputs from other aspects or other databases of the project to implement that and feed data into our organizational systems and get enhanced insights out of that. Now, that's only possible perhaps because we're utilizing these platforms as cloud-based platforms. They're on the cloud, they're on the internet. They provide us with API accesses, they provide us with data exchanges that we can use to feed into other dashboards, other insight systems. And also, from a general contractor standpoint, this wasn't done on a project level. This was done on a very top-down process, and we were standing on the shoulders of people much smarter than us. We're seeing our Hussam and our senior director Patrick here work very hard on creating this top-down process, this ecosystem that allows these little bottom-up processes to feed into each other and give us enhanced outputs and feed into organizational databases. So to conclude this presentation, and we're pretty good on time actually, we can take these standard deliverables that are provided to us by these technological platforms, by these tools. We can process these to get secondary and tertiary outputs. This can be further enriched by integration with other technologies in the ecosystem and with interdepartmental collaboration. A lot of the very key outputs we found were from discussions with very unexpected people. For example, an estimator would come up and say, hey, can we do that? And we'd be like, wow, that's an amazing idea. And that didn't really involve us going back to the vendor and say, can you implement this? A lot of the times, we can use what they give us, integrate with other platforms, use some of our own talent to feed into other tools and come up with something completely different. Now, of course, to do this on your end, if you're someone trying to do this by yourself, this needs to be a top-down process. This cannot be bottom-up. This cannot be project level. This needs to be very carefully thought out and figured out how this ecosystem can do this on your end. And the most important thing for me to remember would be that technology facilitates the use of these tools, but the processes and the people that use them, they come first. Their feedback is essential. This needs to be very carefully examined to make sure there's no redundancies, to make sure that people can use all these tools, to make sure there's no blockers in learning and utilizing these. And now we've come to the Q&A. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. We have a fair bit of time, so I welcome any discussions.
Questions?
Hi, everybody. Robert from Armadillo. Thank you for the presentation. I really like the use cases and how you're leveraging visual data. My question is, how are you incorporating computer vision into the analysis of the data and optimizing and improving the quality checks and use cases in the segment?
Your question specifically being about computer vision, the aspect I would say is that Timescapes in particular has an AI analytics dashboard. We didn't go too much into that because we wanted to go into the process that we implement, but Timescapes has the ability to use computer vision on the image viewer and be able to visualize the safety metrics or the amount of activity that's happening on site, and provides you with a pretty neat dashboard that allows you to utilize that. The drone platforms, obviously, they have their own AI analytics. They're budding. They're coming up. We didn't use them at this point, but we believe that there is a very big opportunities there to use them in the future. I also think there's opportunities for us to leverage some computer vision outside of these technologies. That's something we are working on, I think, in the enterprise level. That's something that's exciting. That's something we can utilize with other data partners.
Yeah. Just to build on that, because the last point that you have there about people importance and bringing back their feedback, I think is key throughout the whole cycle. So for people like us, the companies like providing the support, but I think sharing back to the vendors and the technology partners, that's how they also make the product. So very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just I need to add a quick note here. Of course, like our vision here to collect all this data from all those projects that we just started to implement those technologies, and our plan to train this data, and that help us to have like a good vision about our scheduling and use this data to enhance the scheduled proposal for new bidding, new projects. That help us to save a lot of risk.
Thank you, Robert. Somebody else's hand came up in the back in the meantime. Oh, there you go, gentlemen.
I'm pretty loud, so I'll just speak. How are you handling this data and handover to clients? Did you mention using Ellis cloud systems? Typically, proprietary cloud systems don't like to work online. How are you doing that? Or are you doing that? And if you are, how are you?
Okay.
With regards to handover, and I believe you're referring to handover after the fact, after the building's handover. That's not something we have done at this point. That's not something the clients really asked for. We do give the client access to all of this throughout the process. I believe at this point we're saying, if you guys want to keep these, take them as they come. And if needed, we can put this data into a big old USB and hand it to them, as you know. But that's not something that the client has asked for. I am not certain that that would be a requirement. If there is utility for the client in seeing every moment of the construction progress, then yeah, that definitely could be possible, and we would have to devise a workflow for that. At the moment, that's not been a requirement.
Just to add also on this. So specifically in this use case, yes, was not required for the client. It was more our benefits to visual this data and connect it to each other. However, all the platforms that we're using, it's handy to pull out this data from day one to end date and share it with the client. And effectively from several ways, like Excel sheets, spreadsheets, visuals, time-lapse, reports, videos, photos, so the data are ready, and we are doing that in other projects.
All right, thank you, everyone. So, last chance for a question. Going once, going twice. Lena,
I
do you
actually
need a microphone?
Can you hear me? No,
Yeah.
Okay. I actually had a question on the flip side. So from the infancy of a project, or once you get the project in the hole, I'm curious as to know what EllisDon's process is as far as documenting, as far as a bit of execution plan, even if it's not driven by the design team necessarily, but how you document that, how you set up the project to know exactly what deliverables you're trying to meet at the end of the day to hand over to the program.
Okay. And I believe like at this moment, BIM is not mandate in Canada. So we have diverse way how we set up that, from project to project, from client to client, and from category to category. But when it comes to design and build, like of course we have like our template, our standards, how we set up our BIM execution plan for reconstruction. Typically we are leading this process with the designers. So we have our template. We try to see to also their standards and make sure this whatever they are preparing can suit with the construction stage. This specifically when it comes to the design and build projects. For other projects, we follow the client requirements, right? If there is like something to set up a pre-construction, we do that, and we do have like our standards, risk management, and task team evaluation system. So we put this together and make sure this part of our like tender package to the trades and do that evaluation, and then get from there. If that makes sense.
So that is your standard practice regardless if it's a client requirement or not?
We do have our standard requirements, and sometimes clients ask for them, but they don't have like really requirement. So we build this requirement with the minimum need that construction coordination needs, or the specific requirement that from client that suit along with the VDC process development.
And then do you push to get buy-in from the design team also once you create that, if you're driving it?
Absolutely, and in a lot of cases. So I can share also where we have a lot of examples like residential projects. BIM is not required at all. So we still use BIM and VDC to help the designers with their process. And we got a lot of designers in this type of projects like buy-in and kind of facilitate this process for them, if that makes sense.
All right, folks, we could take a 10-minute break to get some coffee, stretch your legs, get some fresh air. But please make sure you reach out to the two gentlemen during the rest of the conference to ask any questions that you may have. So please join me in saying thank you to Hussam and Hammad.